He laughed in her face. A billionaire tossed a cruel challenge toward his maid's quiet black son. Open this safe in 60 seconds, and 200 million is yours. Everyone in the mansion exploded with laughter. They thought the boy was simple, slow, a joke, but when his small fingers calmly traced the metal, the room went silent. Because the lock suddenly began to speak, and the billionaire's smile began to die. What happened next changed every life in that room. The billionaire's mansion glittered like it was carved out of money itself. Crystal walls, marble floors, guards at every corner. Everyone who entered felt small, but no one felt smaller than Mariah, the maid who spent 10 years scrubbing these same floors, and her quiet black son, Eli, who now stood at her side, clutching her hand. They weren't supposed to be here tonight, but Maria had no choice. Her shift ran late, and she had no one to watch her boy. So she brought him silently through the servants' entrance, prayed he would stay invisible, and continued cleaning behind the scenes of the billionaire's grand party. But he noticed. Benedict Rothschild, the billionaire whose ego could fill the entire ballroom, saw the boy first like a stain on his perfect evening. He smiled, a slow, cruel smile reserved only for people he believed beneath him. "Is that your son?" His voice boomed above the music, silencing the room. Maria froze. Guests turned. Eli lowered his eyes. "Yes, sir, I'm sorry, there was—" Benedict cut her off with a raised finger. "No need to explain. These things happen." He leaned in toward the guests, whispering loud enough for everyone to hear, "I suppose daycare closes when you earn minimum wage." Laughter exploded. Maria's face burned. While the elite sipped champagne, Eli stood alone in the corner, silent. He wasn't dressed fancy, just hand-me-down clothes and worn-out sneakers. To them, he was invisible, or worse, entertainment. Benedict's eyes gleamed. He loved an audience. He loved control. And, most of all, he loved humiliating the powerless. So he strutted across the room and opened a gleaming vault built into the wall. A black steel safe, large enough to hold a fortune. Guests leaned in, every camera lifted. Inside the safe rested piles of cash, rare stones, and documents wrapped in gold bands. And above it all sat a smaller metal cube, something different, heavier, more secret. Benedict slammed the vault shut and spun the lock. Then, smiling broadly, he pointed straight at Eli. "Little man," he said, "ever cracked a safe before?" Maria gasped. "Sir, please, he's just a child." But Benedict ignored her. "You want to impress these people?" He crouched, leveling his eyes with the boy. "I'll make you a deal." The crowd leaned forward, hungry. "If you can open that safe in 60 seconds, you can have everything inside. All of it." Gasps. Whispers. Someone shouted, "That's over 200 million." The billionaire's mockery echoed through the hall. To him, this was a circus trick, a joke, a way to remind every servant in that room exactly who ruled their lives. He expected the boy to cry, to run, to freeze. Instead, Eli lifted his head, slowly, quietly. His eyes locked onto the vault. No fear, only focus. Maria clutched his shoulder. "Eli, don't." But he didn't move away. He took one step forward, then another. The room went still. Benedict grinned like a man who believed the world always bent to him. "Your time starts when I say," he said. "Ready." The guests held their breath. Eli nodded once. The second Benedict said, "Start," the ballroom erupted into a storm of whispers. Phones rose, cameras zoomed. Every guest wanted to capture the moment a poor maid's son failed, to laugh about it later over wine. Eli walked toward the vault with the calmness of someone twice his age. Not a single tremor in his hands, not a flicker of panic in his eyes. Maria followed behind, voice trembling. "Baby, it's okay. You don't have to—" Benedict snapped his fingers, silencing her. "Time is ticking." A digital clock flashed 60, 59, 58. But Eli didn't rush. He knelt quietly in front of the safe, pressing his ear gently to the cold steel. The guest chuckled. "Oh, look, he's seen too many movies. He's pretending. Poor thing thinks he's Sherlock Holmes." Benedict folded his arms, smirking. He enjoyed every second of the humiliation. Maria's heart pounded. Her son wasn't a showpiece. He was just a child. A child trapped in a room filled with wolves. But Eli didn't hear them. Or maybe he did. Maybe that noise fueled him, because his tiny fingers moved with purpose. He wasn't guessing. He was listening. For micro-vibrations, for the subtle ticks only trained ears could catch. 45 seconds left. Silence fell. Even the music paused. People leaned forward without realizing. The boy adjusted the dial. Smooth, precise movements, like he'd done it 1,000 times. A woman whispered, "What is he doing? He's not playing." No, he wasn't. He was calculating. Benedict's smirk slipped for just a second. How does he know? He caught himself. No way. A random black kid from a maid's household wasn't cracking one of the most advanced safes in the country. No chance. Yet, 35 seconds. Eli placed 2 fingers against the lock, and his breathing slowed. Maria stared, frozen. This wasn't chance. This was talent. Raw, sharp, unmistakable. One guest, a tech investor, leaned closer and whispered, "I recognize that model. It's a Voss 9000 electromagnetic hybrid. Even professionals struggle with it." "Then how's the kid?" "I don't know." Benedict overheard. His jaw tightened. Eli rotated the dial, stopped, reversed, slower. 28 seconds. A soft click. The first tumbler unlocked. Gasps rippled through the room. Benedict blinked rapidly. No, beginner's luck. Eli didn't celebrate. He went straight for the second mechanism. His hand hovered, hesitated, then tapped the handle twice. Another click. The digital seal disengaged. 20 seconds. All eyes widened. Maria covered her mouth. Tears gathered. Not from fear now, but something deeper. Pride. Eli moved to the final latch. An encrypted biometric trigger. Everyone knew it required matching digital imprint keys. But for some reason, Eli wasn't trying to break it. He was timing it. Counting. He whispered numbers under his breath. 7, 4, 2. He pressed the latch when the internal light flashed red. A vulnerability window only security engineers knew about. The device chirped, unlocked. 10 seconds left. The room exploded. He did it! How? That's impossible. Eli gripped the vault handle, pulled. The massive steel door swung open with a hiss, and there it was. Cash stacked to the ceiling, jewels glowing like small suns. And in the center, that mysterious metal cube Benedict tried to hide. Eli reached for it. But Benedict slammed the vault shut again. Hard. The room went dead silent. His face was pale, his hands shaking. "That's enough," he growled. This was just a game. But everyone had seen it. The boy won. The crowd froze, still processing what they'd witnessed. A child, just a maid's son, had cracked a vault stronger than most banks. In under 60 seconds. But Benedict wasn't celebrating. His lips twitched. His eyes darted, calculating. Because Eli hadn't just embarrassed him. He'd exposed something Benedict could not afford anyone to see. Maria rushed toward her son and held him tight, whispering, "Baby, how did you—" Before Eli could answer, Benedict clapped. Slow, stiff, fake. "Well," he said through a forced grin, "that was impressive." The audience didn't clap back. They only stared, waiting, hungry. One guest shouted, "Open the vault again. Let the boy collect the prize." Another added, "You made a promise. Pay what you owe." Their voices grew louder. This wasn't Benedict's controlled showcase anymore. This was chaos. and he was losing. Benedict raised a hand. "Everyone, calm yourselves." His voice trembled, though he hid it well. He stepped toward Eli, bending slightly, the way one studies a dangerous animal. "What's your name, kid?" Eli wiped his hands on his shirt. "Eli." "Eli." Benedict repeated the name like he was tasting it, or memorizing it. "And who taught you that trick?" Eli shrugged. "No one." A ripple passed through the room. No one believed him, yet somehow, everyone did. Maria stepped protectively between them. "He doesn't have to answer anything." Benedict smiled, but in his eyes, a storm brewed. "Oh, I insist," he said softly. "You see, what the boy just did isn't normal. Not even professionals can open that vault without authorization." A murmur swept through the crowd. Eli tilted his head. "You said it was just a game." That subtle jab hit harder than a slap. People smirked, a few laughed. Benedict's jaw flexed. This boy had no fear, no hesitation, and that terrified him. "Tell you what," Benedict said suddenly. "How about another test?" Maria's voice cracked. "No, he already won. Just give him the prize." Benedict snapped. Silence. Every guard in the room, men in black suits, stepped forward. The audience quieted instantly. Eli, though small, stood tall. "What test?" Benedict gestured to the vault. "Inside, there's a very special item." His tone dipped into something darker. "But that is the real prize. The cash, the jewels, meaningless. What matters is the cube." Eli narrowed his eyes. "That's why you closed it. You didn't care about the money." A few guests whispered, "What cube?" He hid something. "This isn't a party. It's a setup." Benedict's mask cracked. Just a little. "That cube belongs to my family," he hissed, "and it's not meant to be touched." Maria tried pulling her son back. "Let's go, Eli. We're done." But the boy didn't move. He stared up at Benedict with unsettling calm. "If it's not meant to be touched," he asked, "why did you put it inside a vault a child could open?" That hit hard. Gasps, laughter, murmurs. Benedict went rigid. The boy had just checked him. In front of everyone. Guards tensed, hands drifted toward weapons beneath their jackets. And then, from the hallway, a deep voice echoed, "Enough!" Everyone turned. A tall, broad-shouldered black man walked in, dressed simple, but carrying an authority that silenced the room instantly. Maria froze. Eli smiled. Benedict's face drained. He whispered, barely audible, "You." Who was he? Who was this man who could make a billionaire tremble? The room fell silent. Even the guards, men trained to obey only Benedict, hesitated the moment the stranger stepped through those golden doors. He didn't need a suit. He didn't need a badge. He didn't need an introduction. His presence alone was enough. Tall, calm, unshakable. His gaze swept the room and everyone instinctively stepped aside. Maria's hand trembled as she whispered, "David?" Eli grinned. "Hi, Dad." A collective gasp rippled across the crowd. Benedict blinked, stunned. David Clark?" Suddenly, whispers erupted. "That's him. Isn't he? He's supposed to be dead." But David didn't respond. He walked straight toward his son, placing a protective hand on Eli's shoulder. Benedict swallowed hard. "What are you doing here?" David's eyes, dark, unreadable, shifted toward the vault behind him. "That's what I should be asking you." Benedict forced a shaky laugh. "You think you can just walk in here? This is my estate." David cut him off. "No, it's the place you stole." The guests looked between them, confused, excited, terrified. "Stole?" Maria's breath caught. She knew this day would come. She just prayed it wouldn't be now. Benedict stiffened. You've got no proof. David smirked. Funny, because that little cube you store like a god is all the proof I need. The crowd leaned closer. Cube. Proof? Stolen. Eli looked up at his father. What's inside it? David kept his gaze locked on Benedict. A list, he said slowly. Names of every family he ruined, every person he betrayed, every empire he robbed. Benedict's face went white. Now the guests murmured louder. Fear creeping in. David continued. That vault was never about money. You kept the cube hidden because it's your insurance, your leverage. He stepped forward. And you made the mistake of believing no one could ever reach it. Benedict's mask shattered. You weren't supposed to survive. His voice was low, venomous. Maria gasped. You tried to kill him? David's jaw clenched. He arranged the explosion. My entire team died, and he walked away with our work. The guests recoiled. Some stepped back from Benedict as if evil might rub off. Eli looked at the cube, then at his father. Is that why you taught me puzzles? Locks? Codes? David nodded. So, you'd be ready when the world tried to cage you. Benedict snapped his fingers, and guards closed in. But David didn't flinch. Neither did Eli, because every guard stopped just before reaching them, as if an invisible wall held them back. A new wave of whispers filled the room. Benedict stared, realizing they weren't hesitating because of David. They were hesitating because of what he represented. David reached into his pocket, not for a weapon, but for a small silver badge. The organization is watching, he said quietly. You move a muscle, and you'll disappear. Benedict's breath rattled. No one threatens me in my own house. David stepped closer until they stood face to face. Someone should have told you. His voice steel cold. This house was never yours. Benedict looked like a trapped animal, panicked, cornered, dangerous. His eyes flicked toward the vault, toward the cube, toward his only lifeline, and he ran, straight for it. Benedict lunged toward the vault, like a starving wolf chasing its last piece of meat. Guests screamed, stumbling out of his way. 2 guards tried to intercept him, but he shoved them aside with wild desperation. He slammed his palm on the scanner. The vault hissed open, its blue glow spilling across the marble floor. Inside, sitting on velvet like a thrown jewel, the cube. Benedict snatched it with trembling hands, breathing hard, eyes bloodshot. This, he growled, is my life. You think I'll just hand it over? David took a slow step forward. You never understood it. That cube was never meant to destroy. It was meant to protect people. Benedict barked a laugh. Protect? It's worth more than empires. I used it exactly how it was meant to be used. To crush and rule. He held it high like a trophy. Do you know what I can buy with this? His voice cracked. Countries, armies, presidents. Eli watched him, calm, focused. Maria clung to a pillar, sobbing quietly. David remained still. You stole it from my team. You killed them, but you were never able to unlock it until a child did. Benedict sneered at Eli. I underestimated the brat. Fine. I'll make it worth his while. He raised the cube toward Eli. You will work for me. Crack whatever I command. Help me take over the world, and your mother lives in luxury forever. Gasps. Maria froze. Eli's face didn't change, but his eyes hardened. David stepped toward Benedict, but Benedict pointed a small remote at Maria's direction. Another step, he hissed, and she disappears. David froze. Now Benedict looked. Unstoppable. Eyes wild, holding cube in one hand, a trigger in the other. All of you, he shouted at the guests, will witness history. I will rule everything, because I hold the world's greatest key. Silence. Eli tilted his head, almost curious. You really don't understand it, do you? Benedict blinked. What? Eli walked forward slowly. That cube isn't a weapon, it's a filter. It recognizes the intent of the one opening it. Benedict's smile twitched. So what? It only gives power to someone who isn't ruled by greed. Eli's voice was quiet, but unshakable. It revealed itself to me because I didn't want money. I just wanted to help my mother. A murmur swept the room. Benedict's grip faltered. You're lying, Eli shrugged. Try to open it. Benedict immediately pressed his fingers to the surface, but nothing happened. The cube stayed cold, dark, silent. His face twisted. He pressed harder, then shook it violently, as if force would help. Open! He slammed it against the floor. Work for me! Nothing, just cold metal. Eli stepped closer. Stop! You'll only hurt yourself. Benedict turned toward David. This was your plan. You tricked me. David shook his head. You tricked yourself. You always thought power was something you take, but real power is something you earn. Benedict screamed and lunged toward Eli. David moved. Maria screamed. Guests gasped. But something happened before anyone could react. The cube lit up again. Bright, blinding white in Eli's direction. It flew from Benedict's hand straight into Eli's palm, as if the cube itself had chosen its master. Benedict stumbled, stunned. The cube pulsed, every beat sharper, stronger, like it was waking up. The ballroom froze. No music, no breathing, just a glowing cube hovering above Eli's hands, as if the universe itself bowed to him. Benedict staggered backward, shaking his head like a madman. No, no, this was mine. He lunged again, but this time Eli didn't flinch. The boy simply lifted his palm. A pulse of light rippled outward, gentle but powerful, knocking Benedict off his feet and sending him sliding across the marble like a rag doll. Gasps, screams. Someone whispered, "Is he even human?" David stayed calm, watching. He knew, now more than ever, the cube had chosen correctly. Benedict groaned, pushing himself up, his suit torn, hair wild, eyes burning with hatred. "You little monster!" He spat blood. "You think this changes anything? I own this city. I own the police, the judges, the media. They'll bury you before sunrise." Eli looked down at him. "No, you buried yourself." Before Benedict could move again, dozens of men stormed into the hall, but not as men. Federal agents, uniforms sharp, rifles ready. Their leader flashed a badge at David. "Deputy Director Morales, FBI. We've been waiting for your signal." Benedict paled. You set me up?" David stepped closer. "No, I gave you a choice. You chose greed, violence, threatening a child." He shook his head. "You did this." The agents swarmed Benedict. He fought, screaming, clawing. But he was overpowered effortlessly. As they cuffed him, he kicked, howling, "I made this world, and I can unmake it." David leaned down. "You never built anything. You just stole from those who did." Benedict froze, breathing hard, and for the first time, silent. The ballroom doors slammed behind him as he was dragged out. No applause, no farewell. Just the echo of a man who thought he was immortal, now reduced to nothing. Maria rushed to Eli, falling to her knees as she hugged him tight. Her hands shook, tears spilling. "You saved us. You saved everyone." Eli smiled shyly. "Did I do okay?" Maria laughed through her tears. "You were perfect." David stepped forward. "The cube chose you for a reason." Eli looked at it, still glowing, still warm. He turned it in his hands. The light pulsed peacefully now, as though it recognized safety. "But why me?" the boy asked. "Because real power," David said, "belongs to those who don't want it." The guests, once paralyzed by fear, now stood in awe. Many applauded quietly. Some approached Maria offering help, jobs, housing, anything. Word spread across the country within hours. The fall of Benedict, the rise of a humble boy. And Maria? She didn't return to scrubbing floors. David arranged a scholarship for Eli, one of the most elite academic programs on the planet. As for Benedict, he spent the rest of his days inside a maximum security facility. No luxury, no power, no voice, all that money, all that arrogance, and in the end, he lost to a child who just wanted his mother to be safe. Eli never chased wealth. He chased hope, and hope answered. Because sometimes, the world's greatest power belongs to the one who never asked for it.